Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode here on African Confessions. The following story that you're going to be listening to, it comes from a translation of a message that I received, and the translation of that message, it reads like this. Brother Nashi, good morning, how are you? Please post my story anonymously. I am a Zimbabwean woman who is currently living in South Africa. I need advice from your listeners because I do not know what to do. I came to South Africa. This was in the year 2014 with my husband. When my husband passed away, I moved from the farm where we were staying in Limpopo, and then we came to Johannesburg, where I'm still staying now. It was very difficult work, but I eventually got a job working for a black family. I cannot say whether they are South African or not because I want unbiased advice. When they hired me, they told me I would sleep in a small spare room whilst they prepared a proper room for me. From the first day, they said I must not clean that room, and this room no one else was allowed to enter it. Every morning at exactly 10 a.m., they would leave food in that room, and this is what I do every day. Later in the day, I was expected to go into that room to clean it, but the employers and even the gardener were not allowed to enter. Only I could go in. When I moved in with my bag and clothes, I saw that the room was filthy. The bed looked very old, maybe from when the house was built 20 years ago. The blankets were dirty and smelly. The room had no windows and it was stinking. The next morning, I had bird flu. I wanted to ask where the broom and the mop were, so I went to the main house. The daughter of the family asked me what I was looking for. I said I needed a broom, mop, and a bucket to clean the room. She jumped up and said loudly, "No, do not clean that room. Don't do anything without asking me first." That was the first time I learned that I am not supposed to touch anything in that room. She was rude and insisted that it must never be cleaned. I slept in that bed. One night, whilst I was asleep, a man appeared to me. He gave me a wedding ring. I asked who he was and why he gave me the ring. He said he had decided to give me the ring, and we began to talk. In the vision, I was walking with him through a forest. He gave me a fruit, and when I ate it, I woke up feeling nauseous, like I was pregnant. The next day, the employers said I would no longer sleep in the main house. Whilst they completed the room where I was staying, they started digging the foundation for that new room. Not long after that, I was cleaning outside and a black snake appeared. I tried to run away, but the snake wrapped itself around my hand and bit me. I screamed, and my employer's husband came out and shouted at me, saying, "Why are you making noise? This isn't the first time a snake has bitten you. Stop screaming. Snakes are not poisonous." It did not help me. The snake did not leave. It seemed to disappear, then reappeared. It frightened me badly. I thought I was going to die, but I survived. They brought a small clay pot with water and some leaves and told me to drink the water and to wipe the place where the snake had bitten me with the leaves. And there was some yellow things that came out from the wound when they cleaned it. After that, the man that I had been dating dumped me for no reason at all. My mother said she no longer believed that I was her daughter. People who used to be close to me turned away. Even someone that I helped to find work started gossiping and gave me a bad name. She told others that I was a prostitute and that I tried to seduce her husband, which is not true. I now have strange discharge. Sometimes this discharge is mixed with blood. When I go to the hospital, they tell me everything is okay and they find nothing wrong. I feel isolated. I don't know if the family did something to me spiritually or if this is a medical problem they cannot see. I need help, whether it is prayer, traditional healing, or medical advice. I do not know where to turn to. Please, Brother Nashi, post my story anonymously. and ask your listeners for advice. I need wisdom and I need protection. Dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to me by one of our dear sister. Let us try to speak with our dear sister in the comment section. Strange things indeed, they do happen in this world. I think that you are supposed to just find somewhere else to stay for now, so as to protect your life. Then you think about something later on. But let us try to speak with our dear sister in the comment section. Then there is another message that was sent to me. It is a narration of a message. Let me share with you that narration. The message, it reads like this. Hello, Brother Nashi, how are you? Can you please post my story as hidden identity? My story, it goes on like this. I am a woman that is currently staying and working here in South Africa. So what happened is that when I came to South Africa, I then got married. I started to stay with my husband. Everything was okay. Then my husband, he then started to cheat on me. People did not know this, but we were living on separation, even though we were staying in the same house. And at the place where we were staying, there was this other man that was from Malawi. When he would be walking, no one would even suspect that this man from Malawi, he was a traditional healer. He was someone that was just normal. He had a small business that he was running in that same location where we were staying. So this man, he used to see how much I was stressed by the things that was happening in my marriage, and he would come to me and he would say that he wanted to assist me. So things got so bad between me and my husband, and this is what my husband used to do. My husband, late at night, he would be sleeping on the floor and I would be sleeping on the bed, and he would take his laptop and he would start to watch some videos, adult videos, and then he would start to play with his manhood. This was too painful for me. So I then said to my husband, I can't take this anymore. No, I can't. What I want is for us to just be on separation, and I'm going to be sleeping on the floor and you can have the bed, because when I would be on the bed, if I would wake up, I would see my husband watching those adult movies on his laptop. He then started sleeping on the bed and I started sleeping on the floor. Sometimes he would even make the bed shake whilst he was busy playing with his manhood, making those sounds that a man will make when they are feeling so wonderful about themselves. So then I started to feel so much pain, and I was growing thin each and every day because I was always under a lot of stress. Then my husband, my ex-husband, he then said that he just wanted us to have a divorce. He then moved out and he started staying somewhere else. When he started staying somewhere else with another woman, Brother Nashi, that was when I felt so much pain. The traditional healer then said that the woman whom he was staying with right now, she was going to get what was in his pants, like his manhood. That was all that she was going to get from him. But as for the wallet, it was going to be mine. And we then did some rituals. He then took me to this other place where there is a waterfall. When we went to that place where there is a waterfall, I had some underwears that belonged to my husband and other things. And I was told to speak with my ex-husband's ancestors and to tell them all of my grievances, everything that their son had done to me. And therefore, I was claiming his wealth, any wealth that they were going to give to him, it was supposed to come to me. So then after we had spoken with my ex-husband's ancestors, I saw a fish that came out of the water. It was a very beautiful fish that I had never seen in my entire life. It had different colors, red, green, all the colors that you can think of. This fish that came out of the water, it then vomited money. The money that it vomited, it was this other old 5-cent coin, if you know it, an old South African 5-cent coin. It vomited that money, and I was told by the traditional healer to take the money and to put it into a wallet that the traditional healer had told me to buy. So I did as I had been instructed to do. Fast forward, I then started a small business. Since I started a business, I forgot about that traditional healer, and I started to do my own thing without even consulting with him. So I did not know that this traditional healer, he later fell sick, and after he had fallen sick, then that was when he was taken to his country in Malawi, and after he had been taken to his country in Malawi, then he passed away. This I only knew after I started to experience some problems into my life. Dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to me by one of our admin. Strange things indeed, they do happen in this world. Then there is another message that was sent to me. The message, it reads like this. Hello, Brother Nashi, how are you? Can you please post my own story as anonymous? I am a South African woman, and I was targeted for 2 good years. I was being targeted because I tried to speak up about this other school. It is a private school, and I was now taking my kids to that private school. So then they started like a boarding school. If you wanted your kids to go there, they stay at the school, and then they can come back home after a month or 2 months. It depends with what you wanted. And my kids, since they did not have much discipline and they did not do their schoolwork at all the times, I then sat down with my own husband and I said to my husband, we need to take these kids to the boarding school so that they can have good discipline. My husband at first, he did not agree. My husband then said that he had a dream. In his dream, he saw his grandfather, and his grandfather was so angry with him. When he woke up, when he told me about that dream, I said that we need to pray against the spirit of your grandfather, because you know that we are Christians. We are not supposed to tell anything that is demonic about what we have. When we see our grandparents, or if your parent has passed away, then they come back to you, it's not like they are for real. Those are not your real relatives. So you have to pray and to speak against those demons that will be trying to imitate your parents, because those are not your relatives. So me and my husband, even before we had gone to work, we started praying, casting out the spirits that were coming into my husband's dreams. So he did not have a dream again about his grandfather, who was angry at him about the decision that he wanted to take when he wanted us to take the kids to the boarding school. So we finally went to the school. We told them that our decision was for our kids to go to boarding school. So off we shipped our kids to the boarding school. Then when the kids came back, we started to notice that our kids, they now had good discipline, but there was something about my daughter. My daughter at all the times was moody. She could do all of her duties in time, but the way that she would speak, she now had a very sharp tongue. Each and every Sunday, when they were on holiday, when I would say to my daughter, wake up and prepare because we are going to church, that is when you would see the evil that was inside of her. She would scream at you. We literally had to drag her to church each and every Sunday. Before this, she was a naughty child, but she loved to go to church. When we were at church, what would surprise me and my husband was that she would always be playing outside. She never wanted to be in the church, especially when it was time for the pastor to preach. We went to the pastor. We told the pastor that we were noticing this strange behavior in our daughter. Then the pastor told us that this could be the sign of a demonic possession. The pastor then came to our house. The first night, he failed to enter into our home. He was standing by the kitchen door. He said, my legs are so heavy. My head is aching. There is a demonic entity in your house. I can't get inside unless if I pray. we prayed that evening. He then said that God had given him a revelation that we were supposed to pray. So we then started to pray and we were fasting. I would go to work and I would be hungry, almost starving to death, but I was praying so that my daughter can be delivered from the demonic spirit that was possessing her. At night, we would not sleep. It was as if the people next door would be throwing stones on top of our roof. You will go outside, you would see nothing. Sometimes when you would wake up early in the morning, you would see stones that would be all over the lawn and on top of the house. But when you check again, you will see that there won't be anything and you won't see nothing. So this was what used to happen until we finished our fasting period. When we had finished fasting, Brother Nashi, that was when they told me that my daughter had collapsed at school and she was bleeding from her ears. And I said, what caused her to bleed from the ears? They had since called for an ambulance and the ambulance had collected my daughter. She was on her way going to the hospital. The pastor was at the hospital before we had even gotten to the hospital. The pastor told us that he started to pray and he had a revelation that my daughter was going to be sacrificed for the school to go big so that it can have a lot of students. So they have chosen my daughter. That was why she was behaving the way that she was behaving. So my daughter, she was very sick. She stayed in the hospital for 2 good weeks. There was blood that was always dripping out of her ears. They even said that they wanted to do an operation. There was one pastor from our church. This pastor called from Nigeria and said, do not allow that girl to have an operation performed on her. She is not going to make it out of the theater room. She is going to die whilst they are operating on her. Do not allow it to happen. It was not an easy decision to refuse to sign when they said that they wanted to operate on our daughter. We started praying as if we were crazy people. You know, in the hospital, when you start to pray, the way that people look at you, they think that you are crazy. The pastor was told that we had to pray a violent prayer. We started to make noises. We were praying. We were even escorted out by the security when we were busy praying. The moment that we got to the car park, that was when the pastor's wife said, "It is done." And when her husband, the pastor, asked the wife, "What do you mean it is done?" She was surprised. He said, "Hey, what did I say?" And then we said, "You said that it is done." And she said that she had a voice. This voice, she did not hear it inside of her ears, but the voice fell like a rain droplet from the sky. And this droplet, it contained a message saying that it is done. And we started to get so scared because it is done. It was a message that you could think that maybe my daughter had passed away. That was when we saw a nurse that came out of the reception area. She was breathing heavily and she said, "Your daughter, she is speaking." She had regained consciousness. And strange things, brother, they were happening. There was one doctor who was from DRC. This man, he was adamant. He wanted to force my husband to sign. He said that as a doctor, he is allowed by law to sign for us to save our daughter's life. Even after my daughter had regained conscious, he still wanted to have the operation performed on my daughter. He was acting as if he was a possessed man. Pray for the doctors, the nurses that will be looking after your sick relative, because the devil can use them to end your relative's life. That is what happened to my daughter, and we took our children from that school, and the spiritual attacks, they started until the owners of the school came to our house one night to threaten us if we will ever go public about our situation that had happened. This is my story. Before you send your kids to a new school, maybe do a proper investigation. And from that day, I'm scared of sending my children to a boarding school because who knows what they were doing to them when they were keeping them at their school. Dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to me by one of our dear sister. Strange things indeed they do happen in this world. If you have ever witnessed something satanic happening at a certain school, you can come to my inbox and share with me your own side of the story.